Affairs Minister really didn't see the joke. Bernard Cazeneuve dismissed the comments as misplaced British humour. Andrew, a sense of humour bypass.
Yeah, you won't get any humour on this programme, misplaced or otherwise. We've been joined, you saw her as a candidate. She now joins us as the new French Socialist MP for London and Northern Europe. It's quite a big constituency. Axelle Lemaire, welcome back to the programme.
Thank you.
Now, all these reports were coming out overnight that the Eurozone countries and Mexico seem to have agreed that bailout funds could be used to buy Spanish and Italian foreign debt. But I've actually looked at everything to find out where this agreement actually is. I can't find anybody actually saying that, particularly Mrs. Merkel.
Well, the simple fact that they mentioned the bailout fund and link it to the Spanish debt problem is an improvement in itself. I think there's another source of agreement in the fact that they also make reference, the final communique, make reference to growth-enhancing measures. This is the first time they agree on this kind of statement.
What does that mean?
At a G20 summit. It means that states at a domestic level, but probably at the European level as well, will try to implement measures in common, invest some money in some identified sectors such as new technologies, innovation, where there is a potential to create growth and jobs.
Mrs. Merkel didn't even give a press conference before she left Mexico.
She didn't need to, because they had already agreed on a draft communique before the summit.
No, everyone gave a press conference except her. And I think she didn't, because she didn't want to be asked any questions about this. Now, since then, I've been looking at the wires coming out of Germany, and they're full of stories of the German government playing down the idea that bailout funds could be used to buy sovereign debt.
But still, it's mentioned in the communique. And
no, it's not actually.
The
communique simply talks about ways to reduce the cost of sovereign debt. It doesn't mention using bailout funds to buy it.
Yeah, all I can say.
Your president wants it, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, of course. And what I've heard about the summit is that it was very harmonious, much more than 6 months ago, which in itself shows that there is real improvement, and they're all very keen to.
But you didn't
they're very keen.
You didn't
get
rid of any governments this time. Last time you got rid of the Greek and the Italian governments.
The teams, the French and German teams, are clearly discussing together ahead of the European summit, and that's when things will be decided.
Your president is going to I think he's on the way to increasing the top rate of tax to 75%. He's putting an extra tax on dividends. He's increased the minimum wage. He's going to have new rules to curb redundancies and stop factory closures. Is that the kind of pro-growth measures that would encourage business to invest in France?
Can I just one thing about the dividend tax? It's actually you talk about tax, we talk about growth. Why is that? Because the idea is to create an incentive for companies to reinvest their profits into investment, so into the creation of new values, instead of distributing the money to shareholders. Last year only in France, 45 billion euros were paid to shareholders from CAC 40 companies. That money could have been used in investment
But why, if you're a shareholder, why would you invest if you don't get a dividend?
Well, because in the long term, in the long run, these companies are likely to make better and bigger profits.
But don't you want shareholders to get income so they spend it in the Rue Saint-Honoré and boost your economy? If you take the dividends away, they won't spend it.
Well, it's an incentive, but it's also to promote smaller and medium-sized companies. So it's a question of long-term economic strategy. It's not about creating a tax heaven, I'm afraid.
Does the British government have a position on whether the bailout funds, one of which doesn't exist yet, which is the ESM, the other one does, which is the EFSF. Does the British government have a view that these funds should or shouldn't be used to buy sovereign debt of Spain and Italy?
The answer is, I don't know. These decisions, are quite complicated. I don't know what's come out of the summit because we haven't yet heard in detail. I think the big picture, though, is that these kind of restrictive decisions, which look as though they're going to be taken in France, are unlikely to make France more competitive and more attractive. And of course, a lot of investors are international investors. They can go and invest in UK companies instead of French ones if they're not going to get a dividend. Hence David Cameron's point that a lot of people are going to look elsewhere if France becomes so restrictive. And I suspect that a rich hunt, which is what I interpret a 75% tax rate to be, is unlikely to lead to the growth that President Hollande claims.
It doesn't seem to be leading to growth here, I'm sorry, and it's not my job to comment on Mr. Cameron's diplomatic
feel free.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
It reminds me very much of Mr. Sarkozy's, I must say.
Yeah, we have just had some encouraging employment figures today. That is good news.
Employment count went up.
I think the point that we have to keep on making is that there is no quick fix here. You can't pay off a mortgage with a mortgage. One of the advantages we've got in the UK over almost any other European country is very, very low interest rates. If we were to go the Ed Balls route and take out a bigger mortgage to pay off the mortgage, interest rates would go up. That would kill growth. Okay. So there's long, slow, hard escape from the legacy we've inherited is, I think, the right way forward.
You need a more balanced plan. This government had a plan. It's driven us back into double-dip recession. Only 2 G20 countries are in double-dip recession at the moment, Italy and the UK.
No, so the plan that they've got, most will end up in recession this year.
The plan that we have got in this country is not working. We need a more balanced plan. We need a plan for jobs and growth. We need to try to invest in infrastructure properly to kickstart the economy, to create more jobs.
I understand. Can I ask you, does Labour have a position on whether the bailout funds should be used to buy sovereign debt?
Well, it's for the Eurozone to decide how they deal with these things.
However, it's yes or no. Does Labour have a position?
However, we think that the European Central Bank should be the lender of last resort. They have to have a mechanism for dealing with the problems that there are sheltering these countries from the markets.
I understand all that. And actually, ECB bought over 200 billion of sovereign debt last year. But I'll just ask you one more time, and it's either a yes or no. Does Labour have a position on it? I mean, the Minister here has been honest enough to say he doesn't know. Does Labour have a position on it?
We haven't got a position because we haven't seen what they're suggesting. But what we were saying earlier is that they have to have a lender of last resort. It has to be.
No, you've said that twice.
It has to be the European Central Bank.
How do you feel about Mr. Cameron touting for rich French folk to come and live in little London town?
Well, I think it shows the differences in economic policies. Either you try to help the rich, or you try to create a friendly economic environment for businesses, which is what they want to do in France.
Would you advise the British Labour Party to go for a top rate of tax of 75%?
Well, I'm not an advisor of the Labour Party.
Take on! They need all the help they can get.
I think I'm not here to comment on what the UK does, and I do hope that that's also what British politicians
But it could have an impact on Europe. I mean, first of all, you want people to invest. You want people to start up new businesses. But if they do really well, you're going to take away 75% of their income. Yeah, so why would they do that?
There's this 75 tax % rate concerning 3,000 individuals on one side, and there's the whole pack of tax measures concerning companies which are very balanced and likely to create growth. So it's two completely different issues.
How much do you think taxing 3,000 individuals at 75% is going to raise?
Probably not very much.
Well,
it's symbolic.
What's the point of doing it then?
And that's what. Well,
it's symbolic. Okay,
what is the point of doing it?
So what happens if they come?
A report was launched this morning in France. 20% of the French population, a fifth of the French population, owns more than 3/4 of French properties, French values, French. So there is such a disproportion in how the wealth is owned and distributed in France. They just want to reverse the way it works.
But unlike this country, you have a wealth tax, so it's clearly not worked.
Well, no, because it was scrapped by Mr. Sarkozy.
No, but the distributional figures were the same before he did that. I mean, I would suggest to you what will happen is that nobody will now pay themselves more than €1 million.
It's over. It's a marginal rate. It's over.
But nobody will now pay themselves. But why would you?
And it's on revenues only.
But why would you? So
because
what it means is that people will therefore have that rich bunch, which spend a lot of money in France, will have less money to spend, and that will inhibit your growth as well.
Well, I think it's a pure cliche to think that when the 3,000 rich people spend money, this is likely to, help the economy of an entire country.
Economic
have you been around London?
When I say
it's a
good example, London.
Economic theory shows that actually if you can redistribute money to more people, people who aren't as rich as that, they tend to spend it in the economy, whereas people who are very rich, who have more at the margins, save it. So that's the issue.
So why don't we have a 75% tax then?
Well,
for the very rich.
Are you in favour of a 75% tax?
No.
Why not?
You will see what our manifesto says when we get to the election.
No, I
I'm
know
not
that.
going to write it here.
What's the case against a 75% tax for people earning more than £1 million?
We have to have economies that are fairer. And we have to get the right balance between
So are you for or against it?
We have to get the right balance between
Are you for or against
success and ensuring that you don't
I'll try a third time. Are you for or against it?
I'm not going to make our tax policy in this programme, much as you'd like me to.
No, I'm just looking for an opinion, one way or the other. Are you enjoying? Since you're not going to answer. No, you're going to ask questions, so you don't get to talk. Are you enjoying being a French socialist member of the Assembly?
Very much.
Is it good?
She wasn't until she came onto your programme.
We love having her on our programme.
I was in Paris yesterday for my introduction.
Oh, for your entrance.
Hence my
and you get a badge?
Pin. I received my Republican scarf.
Fantastic. You should have wore it today. All right, we need to move on.
To do that.
But great to see you. So keep in touch. You are our line into the French National Assembly.
Thank you.
Have you noticed, by the way, Andrew, more French people coming over?
I don't know. I'm going over to Paris in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to help the economy by shopping in the Boulevard Saint-Germain.
Very good.
PMQ starts just a few minutes, but instead of the usual Cameron Miliband clash, we'll be treated to the political spectacle of Harriet Harman taking on William Hague. Why? Well, that's because the PM is still in Mexico. He went for the G20 summit. He's now meeting the leaders of Mexico, and he's got a number of bilaterals, trilaterals, full group meetings, and maybe he'll find time to have a little bit of fun, recharge his batteries. You will not see pictures of him sitting on the beach, I can assure you, even if he does. And if he does get a moment to chillax, however, there's one thing we hope the PM did pack in his suitcase, and that, of course, is the only way to drink his coffee, the Daily Politics mug. It's a perfect way also for hiding a margarita in the Mexican sun. We do it every morning. If you want to get your hands on one of these mugs, you can do so, but you've got to win the Guess the Year competition.
Stop giving away all our secrets. Right, we'll remind you how to enter in a minute, but let's see if you can remember when this happened.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay.
Bless you for being an angel.
Next in importance at home was the sudden rationing of bread.
That heaven was not for me.